Hi there, my name is Cole, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how I built the Dune ornithopter out of LEGO. Now, there will be no instructions, digital or otherwise, for this model because, well, you'll see why, but there won't be any, just a heads up. Go buy the LEGO set that's coming out in a couple of months at this point. That's going to be a lot better, at least to build, than this one. Now, I decided to build this, you can probably guess, I watched the movie, the later, more, 2021 movie, and just thought it was the sickest thing ever, and really loved the ornithopters. While the dragonfly design is unique to the movie, not the book, I did read the book before, and I liked it enough to get it printed on this jacket, so do what you will with that information. This isn't a jacket, is it? Anyway, at this point a couple people have built them already, so I was not like the first to take this on, but I still wanted to give it a shot, and I hadn't built anything else besides cars since I built this building, which is not a spaceship, in case you could tell. I'm not really sure what to call this thing. It's not a spaceship because it doesn't go into space. I keep referring to it to people who don't know what it is as a helicopter sort of thing because I can't really think of anything else to call it that's like, it's a dragonfly helicopter, I don't know. So let's watch the design process and then we'll come back and we'll actually talk more about how it goes together. Alright, so we're here, getting ready to start building the ornithopter. So I've designed it using a kind of display base thingy down here. As you can see, this is Studio, by the way. It's a free digital building software, and if you'd like to download it yourself, I'll link to it down below. But basically, we're starting with this. It just sits on this because I don't want to bother making these legs all stable, so yeah. Either way, we are going to be building it from Studio here with the auto-generated Studio instructions, and well, yeah, we've built the stand. Now it's time to build the actual ornithopter, and I will be using somewhat random part colors for this, and then we'll just buy whatever parts I need after. Alright, so I had started building the ornithopter, as you guys saw, and as you can see, basically almost all of this is in the wrong colors, because I was planning like, oh, maybe a few parts will be in the wrong colors and I'll replace them after, but yeah. I was building it and like, oh, this isn't going to be any fun, so I just bought a whole bunch of parts, so it's time to open up some boxes of parts and finish this thing, so that should be fun. Alright, so I just unpacked everything. It makes you realize how gigantic this model is going to be, especially compared to maybe the normal, what, like 2, 3, maybe 400 part models that I normally build. This thing is like, I can't remember, it's something like almost triple that, so this should be very interesting. I did buy some used parts because this would just been really expensive, all new. So I was able to get it down to like 80 bucks for all these parts, which is pretty good. And I already have some of the parts over here, which I'll get in a second. Unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, some of the parts came unsorted, which is fine because I don't really like it when they're in a ton of little tiny plastic bags. I generally prefer it when they're all packed together, but that doesn't mean they're all unsorted, so this should be fun, trying to sort all this out. Okay, I'll stop making you guys seasick with the camera movements. And now that we're done with this, I will get to work. And this should be fun though. Alright, so here's the first major update in the ornithopter building process. So now I've basically finished the core, I guess. So we have the ramp in the back that folds down. This is really floppy, so I might replace that with a click hinge. It's a bit stronger. We have well, you'll be able to see it better later, some retractable landing gear. We have the 4 lower wing connections. They are basically attached using studs not on top bricks. Other than that, it is actually coming along rather nicely, so I will continue. Okay, so it is a little while later and I have just finished the cabin. So let's take a little look at the cabin. It's very big. This thing is gonna be massive when it's done. But I'm quite happy with the way it looks. No glass or no transparent, well, except for the front here. We have transparent bricks, but obviously no transparent parts for the sides here. It's pretty simple. There's some plates, some sideways building here. Got this cool assembly here. This is attached with these 1x1 plates with a ring on the end. It's angled forward. We have some seating. I'm not sure if this will fit minifigures or not, much like the cars. Then we have this kind of upper assembly. Now this will attach to the main body on these hinge bricks. The camera's not going to focus on them. So I'm going to try and attach this to that real quick and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Alright, so I've connected it using some wedge plates and it appears that my hinge idea works. And that's coming together. We're starting to get, okay, the camera is really not focusing today. There we go. We're starting to get that ornithopter shape. This is coming together very nicely. Alright, boys and girls, we have another update. The tail has been, well, mostly completed, at least on the sides. A couple more things have been added on top. The lighting is really bad here. So the tail has been completed. It is gigantic. Get the whole thing in the frame there. The thing is a monster. It looks really sick. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. It's also a little bit floppy. The stand is not really the greatest stand, but it'll work for display. It's not the greatest to assemble it on though. So this whole thing, let's go into a little bit more detail. We have a hinge plate up here, and some hinge plates back here. This camera is not focusing very well today. We have the plates going over here. We have some brackets and a wedge plate to get the angle back here, and then we have a wedge brick back here. Then we have a bit of detailing with some various round pieces, which looks very cool, I will say. Altogether, this is looking really, really sick. And that's all I have for now. Alright, so I did the thing that I seem to do every design process video, and that is I completed the model without filming that much more of it. Anyway, there's a lot to work on, so don't worry, you guys have plenty of video to watch here. Let's go over the model. So this lighting is horrible. Let me turn some light that has to be plugged in. Let me turn this light on here. This gigantic pile of stuff. Boom, that's really bright. Excellent. Much better. Alright, so let's start in the front. The front is actually doing pretty good. This hinge holds on relatively nicely, so that's great. This all works. It looks a bit jagged, but that's how it's supposed to look, so I don't really care. Moving back, this stand is horrible. I thought that this part would be like a lot heavier than this part, so this would work, but no, the thing is super floppy, so I may or may not upgrade that. Now, in Studio, the digital software which I built these, the ball joints looked like this. Like, okay, it looks fine. However, I did not realize that I forgot to place a second half ball joint piece behind these. Thus, I am down 4 ball joints that I need. So, this is not going to be this week's video, unfortunately. I think I'm going to have to make another order. This all came together quite nicely. The legality of it, I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of parts around these ball joints that may or may not be somewhat stretched. Oh, that's not good. Ignore that. Pretend that didn't happen. Although, I will say I'm quite happy with how this looks. As a first attempt at a ship, or like as a spaceship helicopter thingy, I'm quite happy with how it looks. These panels are held on, or these tiles are held on with ball joints, and I'm actually not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Top ended up actually being, well, pretty good looking in my opinion. Obviously, people can do a lot better with this, with more experience. Like I said, this is my first attempt at a ship, and thus it's not perfect. This back area, this is a giant thing using offset building to get this covering of the tail all the way back here. And then we have this little tail. I think I already showed you guys this. I already had this built. But we got this covered up. This seems to work fine. We get this. There's a hinge on this, which is supposed to hold this assembly up that fills in the gap under the tail. This has to be fixed because this is not supposed to be flopping down. The ramp works very well as a ramp, except that every time you pick up the model, you push up on it and it like goes way up into the model. So that's not really a problem considering you're not going to be holding this one much. Sorry, my autofocus is not doing too great today. Anyway, but none of those are the biggest problem. The biggest problem is, hold on, the wings. So, as you may know, the ornithopter is this big dragonfly looking thing, and obviously this is the wings to that. So we got 8 wings, 4 on each side. This is a gigantic wing. I don't even know how many studs long this is. It's like the size of my monitor here, or smaller, slightly smaller than it. And this gigantic thing is supposed to connect into this ball joint. Okay, never mind, not that ball joint. Into this ball joint. Either way, I don't think that's going in with one hand. Either way, there's no way that ball joint is holding up this gigantic wing. Thankfully, this wing is actually like reasonably sturdy by itself. It bends very slightly, but it's fine. So that's a good. Well, that's one less thing to worry about. So I have several thoughts. Now, multiple people on Discord. If you see this build on any of the Discord servers I'm in, and you have warned me that these are not going to hold it up, thank you. I did realize that. I'd use them because they look most like the real ornithopter, the real pretend ornithopter, whatever you want to call it. And I thought that I could come up with some other way of doing it. But for those of you who aren't familiar with this part, it's like this cup piece, and then there's 2 like half circle pieces, and then they have this thing that a like Technic pin can fit into. This is normally used for stuff like this, which is like barely anything to hold up in comparison to this. So my first thought was that I can slide like some paper in here. I should warn you, we're going to get really illegal. I'm not sure illegal is the word. We're going to get very non-Lego here. Because like I said, this is my first attempt at a ship. It's not very good, and thus I don't really care if we have to go with some weird techniques and stuff. So I may put a piece of paper in there to try and just like turn the friction of this thing way up, because it doesn't really even have to articulate at all. And then there's the connection from it to the ornithopter itself, which is about as good as it gets at the moment, and obviously that wasn't very good. So I may just have to go in there and come up with some other hinge thing entirely, which would not be fun, but I might have to do that. The other thing is that these lower ones are attached basically to 4 studs. These upper ones are on hinge bricks. They are on 4 studs technically. Those hinge bricks are only on 2 studs. I was able to connect these wings to the upper ones, and like they didn't fall off. So if I increase the friction, I don't know if that's gonna hold. So that should be interesting. I may have to rework those as well, or just rework the entire thing. I guess that's about it. So a couple problems to solve, but you know, that's kind of the fun of it. Although I do want to kind of just finish up this project at this point. That is the update. I will work on something to do. I'll probably just buy some more ball joints for now, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. All right. So I just got the parts order in, and now I fixed, well, most of the things that were wrong, or most of the things that needed fixing here. So this part is now secure. The stand is still really bad, but there's not much I can do about that. The ball joints are now full. No, that's not good. The ball joints are now full ball joints. I'm gonna leave that there for now. There we go. I was going to add some reinforcement back here, but I realized that blocks the ramp from coming down, so we're going to keep that the way it is. And so now it's time to attach the wings. So right now, if I attach the wing, which in comparison is like roughly the length of the thing, if I attach this here, hold on while I do that. Now the wing itself, it just bends a little bit. It's pretty good. However, obviously, as you can see, the joint cannot hold this up that well. So I'm going to try the first idea, which is simply to keep in mind, I'm not intending this model to be recreated by other people, so we're gonna try some unconventional ideas to get this to work. So first, we're gonna try simply a piece of paper in the ball joint to add a bunch of friction to see if that will stop it from rotating and just hold it up at an angle. So I will try that right now, and I will let you guys know how it goes. All right, now that I have stuffed an incredible amount of paper into these ball joints, they actually hold up, which is I'm kind of very happy with, kind of impressed that this actually worked, because it's not a great connection, and this now every other like thing that can bend is bending, but I think we can get away with it, and so I'm just gonna go with this for now. It's already looking really cool just with 2 wings on it, so I'm gonna stuff a bunch more paper into all the different joints on this thing, and then we'll basically be done, I think. Okay, so after some reinforcing of the ball joints, after adding a bunch of tape to reinforce the actual aforementioned joints, and after reinforcing the wings a little bit, the whole thing is fine. I'm trying to zoom out. The whole thing is finally, well, it has all 8 wings, and it looks really sick, although it is colossal. Let me back up a little bit here at my chair. Because this thing is a beast. It's almost as wide as my desk. Now, it still is extremely sketchy, and I probably wouldn't touch it because this thing's gonna fall. But I'm quite happy with it. And so now all it's left to do is basically just clear off the desk, take a couple photos, and then fold it up into like the wing folded position where it's gonna be a lot safer. So I will get to work on that, and then we'll talk about how the whole thing kind of goes together. Alright, so here we are. It's all finished, and it is a nightmare to pose. Trust me, like it's super floppy, and these wings it's like on edge at all times, and I have no idea how many parts are stressed right now on this thing, but the wings are very slightly bending. The ball joints have a lot of pressure being placed on them. However, it looks really sick, and I say that as some guy who didn't expect it to turn out so well. For my first attempt at a spaceship, or whatever you want to call it, I am very happy with it. While it does have a lot of studs because of all the wedge plates and has a lot of gaps and things, I am cool with it. I'm really happy with how close I was able to get it to the real thing, or the real fictional thing. All right, now that we have that out of the way, let's actually look at the design itself. Now, we'll start with the cabin, because we'll start with the front of it. Now, there's a lot going on here. The base is just formed with wedge plates, and then you have the interior, which I think you could probably fit minifigures in here, although that wasn't really a priority. Well, you have the 3 seats, you have these tiles basically sideways angled, you have the front, I don't know what you want to call it, front windshield, front window, which is using the 1x1 plates with ring to get a like double-sided assembly. That connects to all these tiles, which are angled with hinge plates in various places, including some across the center. And then that all connects to this kind of back wall. And this whole assembly connects with 2 hinge bricks, which tilts it downwards. Underneath that, we have the landing gear. So we have the 2 large front feet, I'm going to call them. We have these 2 smaller middle feet, and we have 2 tiny little feet, I guess I'm calling them, on the back of the ramp. While in the movie there are multiple ornithopters, this Atreides style ornithopter, I won't bother explaining it because Dune is complicated. Basically, this version of the ornithopter seems to have either lights. I think one shows up in the movie that has a laser mounted on it, which is pretty sick. So maybe I'll make a modification of this if that exists. I'll have to check. Either way, it's very simple, just sideways plates. Speaking of the landing gear, this thing, it doesn't work, it's just there for looks. The whole thing, as you can see, is supported on these transparent bricks on a plate, and even then it's not a very good base. It's still pretty flimsy, at least the balance is not great. Then we have the ramp that I just mentioned. This is, again, quite simple. It's just basically a big thing that folds down using some clips. Although it does have space on it, so you could recreate the cool escape from the sandworm eating the spice harvester scene. Then we have the actual kind of core of this model, and this consists of basically just the side walls, which is not much. There's a lot of wedge plates, and then a couple like details around the ball joints, and then a lot of bricks kind of just stacked in the middle there. This thing has no interior in the center. On top there are various tiles and wedge plates attached with various hinge pieces. And then we have all the ball joint attachments. So the lower ball joints are connected with sideways bricks, the upper ones with hinge plates. Now the lower ones are definitely more secure. None of them are that secure. But I will say these ball joints do a very, very good job of looking like whatever joint thingy on the real ornithopter. Moving back to the tail, we have basically just 2 long assemblies using some sideways building. These are also angled with hinge plates. They connect at this little tail bit, which has some interesting detailing going on. Then there's this large tiled assembly, which kind of just goes from not offset to offset using various round plates and offset building techniques. And under that, there's this kind of, I don't know, it's just this thing that fills in the gap that is some detail in the real ornithopter. And then we come to the wings. Now, these are very simple. They're just a bunch of plates and a bunch of tiles. There's a couple weird pieces to give them the ability to fold backward. Now, folding them backward is a pain because, like I mentioned earlier, the ball joints I've added a bunch of friction to the ball joints with tape, so they're extremely hard to move, but you have to move them if you want to, well, fold the wings back. And so, you have to fold the wings back, take off these curved slopes, which hold the wings outwards, swing them all back, and even then they just kind of sit in the ground, and it kind of looks like a dead bug, which is maybe is a good thing because the real thing looks rather like a bug. It does look very cool, I will say, even if it's not realistic, because the wings should technically just sit straight back in the air and not sag like they do here. But either way, the fact that it's on my desk right now and all the wings are in the air, I'm happy with that. Sort of minifigure scale, I really have no idea. It looks close enough to me, so I'm happy with it. It does look really cool with the cars next to it because they're like completely alternate universe, well, not alternate universe necessarily, completely different vehicles, and it's really cool to have them together. As you guys might know, LEGO is releasing a Dune set in March of next year. That may have already happened by the time you're watching this. So when I get those minifigures, that should look pretty cool. Maybe I'll compare the two. LEGO set will definitely be a lot nicer to build. Maybe, I feel like this one may be a little bit nicer to display. At least may look a little bit more accurate. But the LEGO set's gonna easily beat this one in terms of just being nice to work with. And so that's it for the design overview. Now I don't want to say this model is simple, despite the like gigantic size of this thing, or just all the space the wings take up. It's not that complicated, which feels weird because it feels like this massive model as it's coming together, and then it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Anyway, that's it for now. I do plan on building more spaceship-like vehicles in the future. And with that, I hope you guys have a great day. That is it for this video. bye, I guess. These intros are these outros are horrible. Yeah, I'm gonna end it there.